We'll first be hearing from Results Positive CEO, Mr. John Furner, as he explores some of the ways ServiceNow PPM enables achievement of business goals through the collaboration and management of multiple project portfolios across both business and IT departments. After that, we'll be favored with a solution demo from Results Positive VP of Products, Mr. Russ King, as he walks us through some of the core functionality of the ServiceNow PPM platform. And with that, we'll go and turn the time over to John.
Good morning. Thanks so much, Sean, and welcome everyone to our webinar today. We're pleased to have everyone join us today, and as we talk about ways to optimize your project investments and also demonstrate the power and value of the ServiceNow platform in managing your projects. In terms of a brief introduction in terms of the agenda, I'm going to first go in and kind of highlight the ServiceNow IT Business Management solution, which includes the project portfolio management capabilities. Then I'll highlight the overall process by which we see organizations going through in terms of optimizing and right-sizing their project investments for optimal outcomes. And then we'll be turning it over to Russ King, as Sean mentioned, to provide us a day in the life demo of the PPM solution, starting with demand management and then going into portfolio management as you make those project selections, and then highlighting a little bit around project management. So thanks again for joining today. And the first thing here, just wanted to introduce those of you that might be new to Results Positive. We are a business technology firm, and we've been helping customers over the last 14 years, helping them in selecting and purchasing enterprise software, building custom software solutions, implementing various software solutions such as ServiceNow, which we're highlighting today, as well as then helping customers support and maintain their software investments. And so we really focus on providing value-added services and right-sized solutions for our customers. And we're able to provide services to many customers, over 300 customers, and we've shown a few examples here on the right today. So we look forward to an interactive discussion today. And what we're talking about today is our core focus area around technology business management, which includes project portfolio management, IT financial management, and application portfolio management. So thanks again for joining today. So what I wanted to do next here is provide a brief overview of the ServiceNow IT Business Management suite of solutions. So this suite of solutions is broken down into 4 major components. One is around overall IT financial management, so helping organizations with their financial planning and budgeting end-to-end from an IT financial management perspective. Then helping customers put together their application inventory and being able to right-size and manage that portfolio to determine where they should invest or de-invest in their portfolio. And then the focus today is going to be around the project portfolio management capability, which is an end-to-end project portfolio management solution from upfront ideation and demand management through overall resource and financial management for your projects as you're managing that project portfolio and project execution. What's really unique here about the end-to-end solution here is, in addition to common functions, you also have the various delivery functions. So on the platform, you're able to manage your Agile sprints and scrums, as well as able to manage testing activities associated with those application development initiatives. So overall, we see organizations being able to align their overall investments to their strategy so that they can optimize their overall return on investment. So in terms of that overall process, as many of us are seeing today, the digital transformation that organizations are going through, and they're still going through that today. And so what we see typically is this demand management function up front. So by customers that currently use ServiceNow, say in the service desk or other solutions, can really have the advantage of being able to make sure all their demand is coming in and being able to track that demand. And so what we're highlighting here is an example as you're managing that demand for your digital transformations. I might have various cloud initiatives that are coming in, and we really want to manage and decrease our overall run the business costs by pursuing those various initiatives. Next, we see various changes in the market, and organizations are looking at how do they develop new products and services to maintain their position as well as grow their position in the market. And so by going through that demand management process, they're able to then establish a recommended set of proposed projects as well as active projects, and start doing some portfolio management, being able to determine which the right mix of projects to really manage the overall growth initiatives in the organization versus run the business initiatives, as well as those transformational initiatives associated with digital transformation in this particular use case. And then once we'll be able to identify and perform that what-if analysis, we're able to then start executing on those projects so that we can achieve that return on investment. And what's nice by using the platform here is that I can manage my traditional waterfall projects, my agile projects, as well as my hybrid projects. And we'll highlight that at a very high level today, but we'll have a follow-on webinar discussing agile development. And then the ultimate goal that any overall portfolio manager and PMO is looking for is how to increase business value and business outcomes associated with project investments. And so that's one thing that we always focus on in helping customers align to those business outcomes and the value that the project investments are driving for the organization. And then in a sense, there's the feedback loop by continuing to measure the outcomes of those projects and then being able to identify what's the next set of initiatives or investments we need to make to really grow the business, transform the business, or continue to run the business. And so that's kind of what we see at a high level is how organizations are going through, either through their annual planning process or continuing looking at what are the right investments they should make by applying effective portfolio management processes and capability. Results positive. One thing that we focus in on is helping our customers get access to unique solutions that help drive overall adoption and increase overall return on investment. And so we've established a few custom solutions on the ServiceNow platform. And what's nice with the ServiceNow platform is that it allows you to create these portals because the platform itself allows you to create your own applications, but then you still have the same ease of upgrade and you're not limiting yourself from that perspective. And so we've created this project collaboration portal. That's for organizations that are looking to collaborate and maintain that all on one platform, but do that across internal and external stakeholders, similar to how organizations in the past have used SharePoint. And so it gives access to various capabilities in terms of KPIs, but then allows for the chat and the associated collaboration and document management all in the portal within ServiceNow. Next, we have our PMO View dashboards. This is to provide enterprise-level visibility around various KPIs so that you can slice and dice the information across different portfolios and business units very easily, but also being able to share it externally as well. And then we have various integrations, and one example is our Jira integration for organizations to bring in that full visibility of their project execution activities. So I'm going to now move over and turn over the time to Russ to walk us through the demonstration. You know, that's the core interest of everyone today. So thanks again for attending, and we will turn the time over to Russ. So Russ?
Thanks, John. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. So as John mentioned, I'm going to focus a few minutes here on walking through sort of that demand intake process on the front end of that demand funnel, and then we'll look at how we rationalize that demand into the portfolio and look at options and capabilities within the portfolio, and then we'll spend a little bit of time on focusing on the project management side of it and how projects work and some of the new capabilities there. But so I'm cited as Brian Marshall, who in my case is a business relationship manager, and I'm just looking at a dashboard here, one of the many out-of-the-box dashboards that you can leverage and build within ServiceNow, and some KPIs, but focusing on sort of that demand pipeline. So this is the demands in the pipeline, and these are the statuses of the projects. You can see 77 demands and then 39 projects that are in initiation, and some of the key KPIs. So just a quick example of a dashboard that you can leverage for purposes of visualizing those KPIs and things like that. I'm just going to jump in here and create a new demand. And so this would be the process if you don't have ideation in place in the front end and you wanted to start by taking a demand or a proposal into the life cycle. So I'm just going to say new demand for demo, what is today, 1/9. And these are the out-of-the-box capabilities fields that you can capture associated with a demand, and this is the out-of-the-box life cycle. You certainly can change and configure all of these to your needs. I just saw a question pop up. This is a London version of ServiceNow, and I'll show some of the new capabilities of London specifically as we walk through the process. So new demand, fill out the appropriate fields, and then I'm going to put in here a start date and say this is going to start in February and end in December, just to make it quicker. Each of these tabs can capture incremental information around the demand, the financial information, and then assessment data for scoring purposes. I'm just going to give this a score of something, and you can, what we typically do in implementation is build out a scoring matrix here that's specific to the organization. And I'm going to go ahead and submit that demand. And then I'm just going to look at any demand here and sort of show the life cycle and the phases as it goes through, one that's more filled out. But on a given demand, what we typically see is phases of captured data, so that you capture the initial stuff, and then you may go through some business case analysis and vetting, and screening and qualification, and finally approval to create a project. And so all of that is highly configurable within ServiceNow. A couple of things that we all typically see is that we have resource plans and cost plans that are associated with those, where you would do a high level forecast of your resources at this level within the demand itself, and then have that carry over as it creates a project. And I don't have a great example here. Let me see if I can find one that shows where we have the resource plans built out. I don't have one as a good example, but associating a project or like a resource plan with the associated demand, and then having that carry over as a project, and that will also then help calculate the financials associated with the labor portion of the project. So as we bring the demands in, I'm actually going to switch now to look at what we would look at if we were focused on, say, an annual plan or a quarterly plan associated with that, and looking at demands and projects that you can execute. So I'm logging in as Megan Burke, who's a portfolio manager, and I'm going to jump into the portfolio workbench here. And within the portfolio workbench, you can choose a portfolio of of demands and projects, And so this is looking at it from more a fiscal year perspective, where you say, I want to plan for fiscal year 18 as an example. Here's my top level budget number of 7 million. Here's the demands and projects I've selected. And so I'm going to go through the process of showing how you would do a what if analysis associated with selecting demands and projects, and then what are the impacts to the resources and financials associated with that. And so at a high level, and you basically have a timeline view that gives you a visualization of when the projects are going to roll out. You can see I have 5 of 6 demands selected and 5 of 7 projects selected, which then gives me 5.2 million of my $7 million budget. You can sort by, I'm going to sort these by score over here to see that within the cloud transformation program, so this is an example of a program we've selected, the fleet management. So the couple of projects that we haven't been able to include yet are this SoCal media application. And so if I add the higher score, the SoCal media application, you'll see that it will adjust both the resources and the financials as we do that in real time. And so now we have a bigger capacity of resources, but these are the resources. And then if we actually go over and let's say we include this project, the Z Discovery implementation, you can see we've exceeded the budget, but we're still okay from a resource perspective, at least at the highest level. And then you can actually drill in. So this is in FTEs. You can see in the quarter we're 30 of 45 FTEs. You can actually drill in and look at more detail associated with the groups. So resource groups or resource roles, and see a heat map of what that plan will do to the resources from a utilization perspective. And so though we're okay from an overall resource perspective, if we look down at the role of, say, solution architect, in the first quarter, we're overutilizing our solution architects at a certain level. So that's the process of going through and looking at a particular portfolio and being able to plan it for a fiscal year with sort of that top-down budget. And then you can track and execute that portfolio as you can see it going through its life cycle once you start execution. So the next place I'm going to jump to is looking at the investment portal, and this is a new capability that was introduced in the London release. And so I'm going to, for the investment portal, I'm going to look at the active IT investment portfolio. And you can build these portals, these investment portals, to basically have any set of projects and demands in it that you want. But so this is our active IT investment portfolio with 73 investments. We have 46 demands and 27 projects. I'm going to remove this grouping. So fundamentally what this allows you to do is get high-level KPIs that are configurable about a portfolio. And so you can see things like the cost and the CapEx and the OpEx and the actual status of the projects, the latest status of the projects that are executing within that portfolio. You can see budget, actual, demand, project cost, and these KPIs come out of the box that you see here, but you can configure and add new KPIs as you desire to capture incremental information about the portfolio. One of the other things that this has the capability of doing is being able to group. And so as an example, if you wanted to see, you know, my active IT investment portfolio, what strategies is that supporting, you can simply drag the strategies up here and get a breakdown of the total planned cost or any of the columns within here by strategy that you've tied to. So a big part of this is saying, you know, here's the investments we're making and here's what strategies, as an example, those investments are supporting. And so any field that you capture on the demand or the project, you can actually break and group by within within this, and you can even bring in the portfolio that they sit in. So 23 are in IT transformation, and others are in IT applications modernization. And then you can drill down into these as well in this type of view. And this view is completely configurable so that you can actually add incremental dates incremental fields, plus even any custom fields that you've added on the project or demand. You can actually add those columns into this investment portal, so that you can then leverage the columns that are custom columns within your demand and project forms. So those are all configurable and you can add them. The other thing that's important to note is once you've sized these investment portals and figured them out, the fields, and laid them out, you can pin fields, you can size fields, you can show fields and hide fields. That persists. Basically, you save those settings and preferences, and those preferences persist. So the next time you come in, you have it. You can also then share these investment to users and groups. And so what we're seeing with a couple of organizations is they actually build these out for the folks in the business to say, here's your slice of what technology is doing for you, and it's shared out to them so that everybody's sort of looking at the same investment portal. There's also a timeline view associated with the investment portal. And so at a high level, you can see timelines, and this includes milestones that are on the projects as an example. You can actually drill in as well into these projects and see those milestones this way. So basically it's showing you a milestone tracking level of the timeline. You can view those in year, month, or quarter. And then there's a financials view as well. So basically focuses on the particular financials. And so if we, for a given project or demand, if we drag that up here, then this is the overall cost of the financials broken down into that more financial summary view, where you look at months, quarters, and years of data, and then within there you can see the certain cost types and things like that. So as an example, you could show me all of my labor, group it by cost type, and across the organization you'll see all of the cost types and what are the forecasts and actuals for those cost types. So that's a quick overview of the investment portal. So, once you're actively executing a portfolio, or once you're actually executing your portfolio of demands and projects, this is a great way to be able to measure and visualize what's happening with that execution. The final thing I'm going to jump into real quick, and I have seen a few questions come through, so I want to leave time to get to some of those, is to look at the project management and focus a little bit on some of the new capabilities there that have come in the London release, as well as a little bit on the Agile side. So I'm going to jump in initially to the project workspace. And this is just a workspace that allows you to, with these cards, visualize the status of your projects as a project manager. So you can see the kind of the overall status, and then % complete and things like that. These cards are configurable, so you can configure what shows up on these. I'm going to jump into the HR service management project and show a couple of the new capabilities in London, and then we'll go into the details. So this is your overall project analytics page as a project manager, where you're seeing things like overdue tasks and resource tasks and milestones, your allocation of project members, so you have what's allocated and what their actuals are coming through here. The same sort of visualization in a table view is available here. And then even the time cards and time card exceptions coming through for this particular project. So this is more of an analytics overview page specific to the project. The next tab is the project details. and that's just your project layout and details of the project. So with London, a couple of new tabs have been added, and so it's the resource capabilities and the financials capabilities. And so this basically looks at your resource plans. And so you can see for the HR service management project that I need 2 FTEs in the group big data, 2 FTEs in the group HR specialists, and one specific user, Rebecca, that I need for this. And so you can see what's planned, what's confirmed and allocated, and then the actuals coming through on each month. And you can actually drill in and see the details here. And this is the same capability that you can do the assignments. These are fully assigned, so I'm not going to do any assignments here, but you do have the capability. As I'm looking at this group big data, you can see who's available, and you have a heat map visualization of what the availability is of the resources within that group. And if I jump to like HR specialists, you get the same type of view where there's 0 availability through the project life cycle. And you can look at this in weekly or monthly views and hours, FTE, and person days as well. So that's the resource side of it. And then the financials, they've added the capabilities of basically having sort of that mini investment view here with the ability to add cost plans for your particular project. So as a project manager, you could, for example, maintain your cost plans for if you had incremental costs outside of labor. So if you had hardware procurement costs or software procurement costs or other things, you could forecast those within here and maintain the actuals as well within the financials of the project. And status reporting, the ability, and so this shows your latest project status report, and the ability to create a new status report within the solution is as simple as creating a new status report and then filling out your executive summary and overall status and comments and achievements, and then giving a subjective view of your project health and schedule, cost, resource, and scope health. And I'll just fill in on my overall status. Executive summary as an example. That's all I'm going to fill in, and then you save that, and that creates your new project status report for that project. And so then you'll see it brings in what I filled in the executive summary, but it also brings in data from the cost and the resource. It looks at trending your overall status history as well, so you can visualize that, and then you see things like milestones, risks, issues, actions, changes associated with the project. So that's the project status reporting. And then the final piece I'm going to cover here on project management is to just tie in that discussion around development, of Agile and a Waterfall project. So this entire project we've been looking at is a traditional sort of Waterfall project where you have a work plan and you're planning your resources and your financials based on that and executing against a work plan. So you can see we're initiating and project kickoff meeting. But when we get into development, we actually have the ability then to tie that to the Agile phases and Agile sprints. And so what I wanted to show here was this initiating. If I click on this, it shows all the project tasks that were associated with initiating, and we're in halfway through development now, but we've been through these initiating and planning tasks. And then when you get into development, it's no longer looking at project tasks. These are actually user stories coming from the Agile side of it. So we've basically put the Agile development piece with the sprints and the user stories, and that's embedded and tied into the project, so you get that visibility of what's happening. And then when you get into UAT and release activity, These can switch back to tasks if they make sense to do that, or if they remain in the Agile space and they're done by user stories. But here's the UAT plan for that, and this is actually using the test management piece of the ITBM solution. So it's showing you how you can have a waterfall project with sort of task-based planning and initiation, Scrum-based or Agile-based development, and then the UAT is actually leveraging the test management capabilities as well. So that's tying sort of the Agile, and as John mentioned, we'll do a deep dive on the Agile capabilities as one of our upcoming webinars. So John, I'm going to pause there and see if there's anything else that you wanted to cover, and then maybe we can open it up for questions. I've seen quite a few questions pop up.
Sean, while people are trying to ask questions, I just wanted to kind of close our webinar today. First, thank everyone for participating, but also let people know there's different ways that we can assist as you're looking at implementing ServiceNow PPM. So many times we start off with a discovery call, so we would have a call just with you and your team, understand where you are today, what your plans are, and then from there it can go into multiple different sets of activities. And that can be followed up by an actual workshop where we do a deep dive demo just for you and your team. It might be where we move into and actually conduct a health check that you might be using the solution today, but you're looking for guidance and direction on next steps and a roadmap. And so we have various offerings around providing customers with a health check. So we get a lot of good feedback with the value that we're able to provide there. And then we have various set of rapid start implementation offerings. We feel and over time that it's best to have quick implementation so that you can get quick time to value and focus in on core capabilities. As well as we've highlighted a little bit earlier, we have some really great value-added solutions, such as our project portal, or if you want to communicate externally and with external contractors, others working on projects, and not really even have to have a license using the service portal technology. And then we also support different operating models, help customers understand how they can manage PPM on an ongoing basis themselves, as well as tap into some of our support and managed services or training. So we have multiple types of services to assist customers in their journey, and our goal is to help ensure adoption and help improve your overall return on investment for your investments with ServiceNow. So I'd like to really kind of thank everyone for attending today. As Rich mentioned, we have a couple of upcoming demos coming up. In February, we're going to do a deep dive around project and resource management. We have Agile and hybrid project management coming up in March, and then a demo with application portfolio management in April. As I mentioned, if you'd like to follow up with the team, we could actually do a deep dive demo with you and your team individually. So feel free to reach out to one of our sales team members to do that, as well as we could conduct that discovery session with you to determine how we can best help you achieve your goals and objectives. So wanted to thank everyone for your time today and participation, and look forward to your participation on future webinars.